Call the meeting to order.
Let's call meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order on this Monday, September the 14th. Let the record show that we have in attendance today. Mrs. Kukla, call the roll.
Ms. Barnes? Ms. Barnes, are you present?
Ms. Barnes is here.
Ms. Faith?
I'm here.
Mr. Donovan? Mr. Donovan?
Here.
I saw you, yes. And Ms. Britt? I don't believe she's here yet. And Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you please read the preamble?
Yes. Again, my name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for this hearing this morning. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law under COVID-19 emergency declaration, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to the Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated to the record prior to taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter.
Yeah, we've already done the call to order. Okay, we have a case on calendar 20-123 at 5713 has been postponed.
Yes, Madam Chair. We're going to give them 60 days. They've requested 60 days. This also includes calendar number 20-128. Both of those cases were side-by-side houses. And the appellant has requested a postponement. And we're going to give it the date of November 16th.
Okay. Without objection.
We have another. We have, okay.
Without objection.
Without objection.
Objection.
Without objection.
Okay, good, without objection.
Is Kelly with us now?
I think you're, Kelly, are you here?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And Maurice, we have another postponement.
Yeah, this was the second one from Side Avenue.
Oh, we
No, there's
included,
one on Bailey.
I realized that this was the first one. This is the second one. Are they both being postponed to the same date?
yes.
And calendar number 20-114-3716 Bailey, they've asked for a postponement as well so that they could meet with the city planning. And they've only asked for 1 month.
Without objection.
Without objection. What's the date on that, please?
October 19th.
Thank you.
And Madam
Okay.
Chair, if I could make one more announcement. The Kenilworth case, 20-135, it's expected that there's going to be lengthy testimony on that. We probably have people already signed in for that. We're going to push that to the end of the hearing so that we can get the other cases out of the way. So just to let anybody know that's waiting for that hearing, it's going to be held a little later this morning, so you have time to go grab a coffee or whatever.
Take a shower, comb your hair, put on clean clothes. Okay. All right. We're ready to roll? Yes, we are.
Yep.
Alana?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-112 at 4606 West Clinton. This is the rear dwelling. Cleveland Bricks owner proposes to erect a two-story frame single-family residence with attached garage in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Mr. Donovan?
Will everyone for this case kindly raise your right hand? I'm going to give you a statement. I'm looking for an affirmation of that statement by the words "I do," followed by your name. All right, who's screwing with the screen?
Yes.
Do you
Maurice?
swear that the testimony,
Go ahead.
swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Can everybody hear me? I hope. I do.
Yes.
Your name?
Byron Bonamici.
Okay, anyone else?
I do,
Else?
Donald Trevett.
Okay. Anyone else? It appears not. We have two that want to testify.
Thank you very much. History of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to state that we are also hearing calendar 20-113 at 4610 Clinton, as there is a front house and rear house situation. I'd like to state that there's been no change in the zoning for these addresses. In the records room for 4608, I found that there was a garage addition in 1925. In 1967, a permit was issued to demolish the garage. In 1967, later in 1967, a permit was issued to correct violations to a single-family dwelling. There were no records in the record room for 4610 Clinton. But Madam Chair, we did find that there were variances on both of these addresses granted in calendar 18-153 and calendar 18-154. Similar variance requests, but they're not identical. In calendar 18-53, at 4610 Clinton, a variance was granted for a new single-family home to be erected at the site for yards and front. I'm not sure if there was a front yard variance. I would have to look at that. But there was a single-family home that was granted on this address. And then calendar 18-154 for 4608 Clinton, a variance was granted to renovate the single-family house at that address. The permits were not issued, so those variance rights have expired, Madam Chair. And I don't know if we could, Maurice, if we could skip over to the 4610 description and have Ms. Faith read that as well.
Thank you. Calendar number 20-113, also at 4610 West Clinton. This is the front dwelling. Cleveland Bricks owner proposes to erect a three-story frame single-family residence with an attached garage in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for strict relief from the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much, Ms. Faith.
Is there any other folks who want to give testimony to this case that didn't already get sworn in? No? Didn't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. The legal standard we'll be judging this case on, please, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. With respect to 4608 West Clinton, the rear dwelling, the appellant is requesting area variances from the front yard, side yard, rear yard, maximum gross floor area, and garage placement and screening requirements of the zoning code. With respect to 4610 Clinton Avenue, appellant is requesting an area variance from the front yard requirements of the zoning code. To obtain all these variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty, not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. And please note, with respect to calendar 4610, that section 32904C of the zoning code places some limitations on the board's ability to grant front yard setback variances.
Thank you very much. Who is representing Cleveland Bricks?
That would be me, Byron Bonamici.
Okay, Mr. Bonamici, tell us exactly what, let's start first with the back parcel.
Sure. Is there a way for me to control this, or can I go?
No, just tell me and I'll fast forward through, I'll change the slides.
I guess we can start there unless you can get to the site plan. That one will be fine if we can zoom in on the site plan there. Basically, if you all can see, we can get a good idea from this. The existing house, I think it was 2 slides. Maurice, if you could go back 2 slides to the upper view, to the Google Maps view of the house. There you go. So that's the existing house. It's our plan to renovate. We've added a few things that the Ohio City ARB and Landmarks have approved. But basically that left-hand addition there, we plan on removing and putting in a single-car garage at just about the same footprint, but not quite. The majority of the other variances regarding this project are existing non-conforming. It's less than 3 feet on the right-hand side of that house to the, if you're looking at it from the street, the right-hand side of the house to the property line is less than 3 feet. And the rear yard is also non-conforming. So again, those are 2 of the variances. And then the creation of that single car garage does trigger a side yard variance, but one that already exists from the existing addition that you see there.
Will the entrance to this garage be off Wheat Court?
Yes.
Okay, continue.
And we have talked to Streets about whether or not that would work. And we've gotten approval from Ohio City and Landmarks regarding that garage. And I believe the design was accepted all the way across the board. It was voted on at ARB and Landmarks.
Okay.
And if I could say, these 2 lots were created. We do want to save that house in the back. There were at one point back in the 20s, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, there were 3 structures on this lot. The White House you see used to be a barn, actually, before somebody turned it into a single family house in the 30s or some early decade like that. And there was a garage on the left-hand side, or a carriage house of some sort, and then a much larger house in the front. And so it was our goal, and I think it should be spoken on, that front house. We were planning on rebuilding. We don't know the design of that original house, but we think that the new construction build will complement not only the back house, but what the house used to look like and the rest of the houses on the street.
Okay. Who else is here for this case, Maurice?
I think it's just me and Don Pettit.
Wes, we have Don Pettit with his hand raised, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Don Pettit, Secretary of the Cleveland Landmarks Commission. I just want to point out that the commission has reviewed and approved the renovation of this house. We saw this back in December. This whole project went through a lot of iterations. Our case number goes back to 2018. But we support the project, and we have no objection to the variances.
Thank you, Don. Was there anybody else, Maurice?
I have no one else. No
Okay.
one raised.
We do have, you did put up a letter. It's not on my screen now. The Lime Coolers has sent a letter in support.
It's on the, it's on
Yes,
the screen.
it's on there now. The owners of the property and business at 4625 Detroit have also supported this variance. They think it's finally happening after 40 years.
Madam Chair, I want to suggest that we vote on this separate from the other issue.
You're objecting to it?
I'm not objecting, I'm saying we should
Yeah,
deal with this separately, yeah.
absolutely. Yes, that's why I wanted to hear it first. Okay. Are there any other comments or questions, board? Strictly on the back house, the rear dwelling.
Yep.
I have no questions, Madam Chair. I would move to make a motion.
Go right ahead.
Second,
On calendar number 28-112 at 4608 West Clinton. This is the rear dwelling. Given the testimony from the appellant's representative and the support of the Cleveland Historical Commission and all the other support that has been involved, I move that we approve calendar number 20-112.
second,
Okay, call the roll.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Ms. Britt,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Mr. Donovan,
yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
Calendar 20-112 is granted. This will be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter on this case.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's deal with the front. Let's deal with the front house now. Byron Bonamici, please tell us exactly about the new house.
Okay, so I apologize. This is an old site plan that I'm looking at. We actually moved the house to 3 feet off that left property line there. If you can see, it says it's right on it, but it's actually, we moved it 3 feet over to make sure that we can keep the bay window. And basically the only variance that we're asking for is the front yard setbacks. So if you can see there, that is an accurate depiction of where the house goes to. The variance we're asking for is if you see the line on the outline of the existing house on the right-hand side, that's where the house ends. And so as you can see, our house goes about 4 feet in front of the existing house to the right-hand side. There is no house on the left-hand side. So that's why there's not one depicted. But the porch lines match up. So our house extends further than the house, but they have a much wider porch than we do. And so the porch lines, and I'm sorry, I misspoke. They don't quite match up, but they're very close. They're within a foot of each other.
How wide is your porch?
Our porch is, let's see if I can, here. Sorry, the architect, it's only 6 feet.
Is that standard or? Maurice, do you know that, or Mr. Riccardi?
Yeah, 6 feet in depth is perfectly acceptable for the front porch. Is that what you were asking?
Well, I want to know if it's standard. I mean, I hate to see people put porches on they can never use.
Right. We generally actually ask applicants to have at least a 6 foot deep porch.
Okay. Well, it gets down to our ability to be able to legally grant a variance on this particular matter. What is the advice of Mr. Riccardi on this?
He's going to type it in, I think, an answer.
He doesn't want to talk.
There was just something posted and now it's not there.
Yeah, he says he does not have a microphone or a camera, so he'll type in his responses. A variance is needed for the front setback is all he types. Mr. Riccardi, can you tell us what the number, the amount of variance they'll need? So what the required and what the proposed is?
Is this the instance when somebody has to have a degree in geometry and you need to go out there and measure 250 feet and
Measure it from hither and yon.
is that the,
Equal to the next door house 4 feet. Okay.
and if so, did anybody do it? I mean, somebody's obviously said, hey, this is.
We have not done those calculations. Generally, we leave it up to the applicant. I guess I would ask the applicant through the chair if it's possible to move the house back 4 more feet to be in compliance.
It is not. The lot was split with the approval of City Commission, of the City Planning Commission, with the idea that there would be 2 houses on this lot. And we cannot move it back anymore. Otherwise, the driveways and the garage access will not work for the house. And you have to encroach even further on the back house. So we cannot move it back any further and still have alley access to the front house.
To the front house or the back?
To the front house. You wouldn't be able to get a car in there from the alley.
I get you.
Okay. You said these plans are not the updated plans. So how much is it going to be different when you send us those other plans?
It's only going to be only going to be, the only difference will be the left property line. We moved it over 3 feet.
Okay.
So that we do
Could have a bay window or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only thing. We would need a copy of that before we would ratify any decision, but we do make.
Absolutely.
Okay.
See,
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just don't know if they qualify for one of the exceptions to the variance rule.
Oh, boy. Any further?
What are the options that would allow them to qualify? That's that geometric exercise we did?
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Helen, are you familiar with the geometric exercise? Helen,
Aaron?
I'm not. I mean, I saw the paper that Liz sent us. I don't know how to calculate that.
well, if somebody does,
Madam Chair, you could always, if you chose to approve this project, you could do it pending the verification that you actually have the authority to approve it. And if not, then it wouldn't be able to be passed.
Who is the person that's going to make that decision? Does it go to the architect for the project? Our architect of City Hall? What?
Madam Chair, we can work with the architect to determine whether it meets the one of the standards.
Okay.
why don't we postpone the case and let you guys work with them and see if it does?
Sure.
That's really the only issue here. What do you guys think, board?
Well, I like what Maurice said. I'm getting a little tired of these postponements. But if we could ratify it, hope based on the fact that we wouldn't have to, if they agree or work it out, then it would go forward. But if it doesn't work out, then it would come back to us.
Well, what I can say is I can get somebody out there as soon as I can. If we can pass this pending, I just need to know the guidelines under which I just need to know what you're looking for as far as results. Like what can I give you?
It's a mathematical formula.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, who do I give it to what happens?
Maurice.
Maurice? Okay.
Yes.
And then
And
I mean,
Ms. Kukla as well.
okay. Yeah, if we can pass that pending this, you guys can set the time at which you need it. I don't know, end of the week, or I don't know how you would want that.
It's up to you. You
Madam
can
Chair?
look at the case.
Hold on a minute, Alana. I saw your hand up.
Sure.
Maurice, can you advise Byron exactly who he's got to present this to?
Yes, it would be to myself and Ms. Kukla. And I'm not sure if Mr. Riccardi needs it. And normally you take a week to ratify the cases, and we should be able to figure out whether that they meet one of the exceptions to the setback rule by then.
Board, how do you feel about that? I know Mr. Donovan would like to postpone the whole case, but
Hey,
Madam Chair,
go ahead, Alana.
thank you. Since there is no house to the other side of this proposed new construction, I think it makes sense for us to move forward with the provision that they will be working with Mr. Rulins and working out the specifics of the distance.
Madam Chair, Ms. Kukla, with her hand.
I'm not sure that the existence of the no house next door either helps them or hurts them, because it doesn't have the setback line from which to put into the formula. But I can go along with the idea that we pass it based on their ability to show the exception to the rule. And if they don't, then they'll come back to us.
Right.
Madam Chair, this is
Yes.
Liz Kukla. Just for your clarification, or just for if you're considering postponing it, we could have them back here October 5th. So that's 1, 2, I guess that's 3 weeks.
I'm willing to
So,
let it go as stated.
No postponement.
Oh, really, me too. I would rather try to pass it today based on the fact that they can work through it. If not, they can come back on October 5th.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Please.
Actually, Maurice, was that, oh no, that was from Councilman Zone. I thought it was regarding this case. We've
No.
just received a chat from the council person on another case. Okay,
That's a
I'll call
different
the
case.
roll. Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
So calendar number 20-113 is granted conditionally pending a report from the appellant and backed up by city planning that the front yard setback meets the criteria that allows the board to grant a front yard setback.
Thank you. Thank you, Byron.
Thank you, chambers. Appreciate it.
Okay. Ms. Faith, go right ahead with St. Clair Avenue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-121 at 3417 St. Clair Avenue. Custom clutch joint and hydraulics owner proposes to demolish 2 buildings and make site improvements, including fencing and additional parking in a C3 semi-industrial district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the following sections of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Mr. Donovan?
Will everyone for this case kindly raise your right hand? I will read a statement. Afterwards, I look for your acceptance of that statement with the words "I do," and then followed by your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do. Scott Ballantyne, owner of Custom Clutch.
Who was the first person?
Bonnie Smith, architect.
Okay. Anyone else?
No.
You and I.
Okay. Thank you very much.
History.
History.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In the records room, I found a permit was issued in 1907 to change the front of the building located at this address at that time. There were no other permits in the records room for this address. And there are no variances on file for this address either. In the more recent history, I found that in 1996, a permit was issued to construct a one-story steel storage shed on the property. In 2007, a permit was applied for to store hazardous substance on the site. In 2018, a permit was applied for partial demolition of a three-story building. And then in May of this year, there was a permit applied for, and it is still pending, regarding interior alterations and site improvements after demolition of 2 buildings on the site. And that's all that I have.
Thank you very much. Yielding to the Law Department, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the off-street parking and fence requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Scott, I'm going to just use your first name. I hope that doesn't offend you. Please tell us exactly what you'd like to do. Whoa.
Yeah. Bonnie, I'll let Bonnie Smith.
All right. Basically, what we intend to do, the owner proposes to tear down the 2 buildings that are at the front of the property. One was constructed around 1900, the other in 1910. They have been declared hazards. Everything inside, asbestos has been abated, and all historic materials have already been removed. Once that is done, they'll be left with 2 open walls, and those walls will be faced with metal siding. And it was our intent to just follow the original line of the building around the edge of the property and put back or add to the existing 8-foot chain link fence that has barbed wire on top that's right at the property line. I included photos for this that show, and I know this is not, it doesn't really meet the general use unrestricted industry district standard for fencing, but there are properties up and down the block where either the building or the fencing is directly at the front of the property. So it did not fit neatly into any of the current zoning standards, but that is what we are asking for. And Scott, as the property owner, has some things to add about his business use of the building.
Okay, Maurice, can you go back to what's showing on my screen now, that smaller picture? Can you move that to be the large picture? And that's out. I wanted the front of the building that's there. We had it a couple of slides ago.
Photo 1, that would be number 1. Go back one more, please.
That's it. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, now do left, right for me and say what you just told us, Bonnie. I want to be looking at this when you tell me where we're tearing down.
Sure. Okay. The 2 buildings that face the street, I forget which one is which. One is a 3-story masonry building, which is the building on the left.
Left, right.
And that has been condemned, needs to be torn down. The owner's been trying to get the project going for, for a little while here, for a couple of years. The building right is a 2-story wood frame property, also
Yes.
condemned. And those currently form the perimeter of the property, front to,
Okay.
the property and the side. And then there's, if you were to go to the civil site plans, you would see that it extends, the property extends further to what is on our right, or the east side of the property into that triangular area. I'm not sure if you have access to, if you're provided access to this material. So there's this parcel.
Okay.
I know you can't see what I'm pointing at. There's this parcel that connects to the railroad tracks. And so it is rather, as you go east, the uses get to be more industrial. Everything's pretty old, not sure exactly what vintage. And photos, what I attempted to show just using Google Earth, because their photos really are better than mine, I think 2 through 8, is that you see both to the west and to the east, the existing properties, either the buildings front to the street, like the building directly across the street. If you went to the next slide, I think shows it. There's a base masonry building. It's right on the street. And then I did like
front counter, please. Front counter.
I did like a drive down the street till you get to just past the railroad bridge to the east. And buildings are right on the road, or that large masonry wall is right on the road, right up to the sidewalk. So as I said, I know the way these things are usually done is usually say, well, we don't meet this, but we meet this. So what we're looking for is to add to that 8-foot chain link fence that does have barbed wire on the top and keep it right at the sidewalk line. The area is mostly used for car traffic. Very seldom are there pedestrians in the area. And then Scott has something to say about some of the vandalism and crime that they have suffered over the course of the years. So that's why they would prefer to keep that kind of a heavy.
Scott, thank you, Ben.
Sure, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'd like to hear from Scott then.
Yeah, so in between the 2 buildings that are going to be demolished, we've got the existing 8-foot chain link fence with the barbed wire on top. And like Bonnie said, we're looking to just extend it to where the buildings were and to continue on to join up to fencing that's further east. I've been here for 22 years. It's a family business that we've been in operation in the same location since 1960. And, in my 22 years, we've been broken into probably a dozen times. The fronts of the 2 buildings that are directly on the sidewalk are consistently tagged with graffiti. We occasionally have vehicles parked in our parking lot overnight, not typically, but occasionally we do have a work vehicle that is left overnight in the lot. So we're looking to alleviate the potential for having the new building that we're going to be, well, not the new building, but in between the 2, you can see set back there is an existing building and that's going to be stayed. We're going to be repainting that. And, we're looking to alleviate the potential for vandalism to occur to the buildings that are going to be staying there.
Correct.
Thank you. Board, did you have questions? If not, I'd like to hear from city planning. Maurice, are you representing them today?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, city planning would like to recommend approval for this property based on the comments from the applicants. This is a very mixed-use area. There are many buildings that are built right up to the street on St. Clair Avenue. I guess one question is, are we proposing barbed wire on the new fence, or is it's not written up as such in the variance?
I thought that I had. I see now. I glanced at that one that one paragraph, and I see that it just says an 8-foot chain link fence. Yes, we would like to put barbed wire on top of the fence. just as a deterrent.
I guess the question to Mr. Riccardi is that permitted by code in that district? This is a semi-industry district, so that would be allowed by code?
Is the chain link fence going to be black plastic coated?
We were proposing galvanized. We had proposed perhaps as an additional cost, as an add extra. We were trying to protect big price to do a plastic coating on the fence.
We generally like black plastic coated fence.
Scott, is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, that's acceptable.
Okay, but what Mr. Riccardi is, Maurice, it disappears off the screen too fast.
Mr. Riccardi has stated that that the barbed wire is permitted. If it runs along the sidewalk, it has to be angled in towards the property.
Yes.
In other words, it can't overhang the
Yes.
go into the sidewalk.
Is that acceptable, Scott?
Yes, that is acceptable.
Okay, we would need to see a plan from Bonnie that shows that.
Okay.
Okay, we will do that.
Okay, and
Are
if
they
we
putting is there any landscaping going in along the very edge? Or?
Landscaping, no. They do propose in those areas where the buildings come out, there's going to be some new parking. The rest of the lot is going to be repaired and repaved and drainage fixed and so forth. But then there will be 2 turf areas where the buildings come out. And you can see them to the extreme left. There'll be a turf strip that comes right up to the fence. And then on the right, set back behind an area of parking. And this really had to do with the flow to the parking by the building that's going to remain on the far right. The landscaping will be set back, so there'll be a turf area there.
The turf area for you equals grass, or?
Yes.
You know, given the current fees that go along with hard paved parking, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, do you really need all that parking? All that asphalt, really? Because if you don't have all that asphalt and you open it up for the opportunity to absorb rainwater, you'll lower your fee bill to the sewer district. Have you thought about that at all?
We hadn't really contemplated in this design. I'm aware of what you're saying, of course. And the total area of the property that you see there is under an acre.
Uh-huh. Well, I just thought I'd bring it to your attention.
Okay.
Well, if I could add something, that in the picture that we're looking at, the triangular piece of property right along the railroad tracks to the east.
Yeah.
Yes.
That used to be employee parking, and I know we've contacted the railway. Currently, the railway is basically crumbling into that area. You can see existing storm sewers on top of the railroad. All the concrete is eroded down, and it constantly piles along the edge of the property. So we don't have our employees parking there anymore because of the potential for damage to their vehicles as trains pass by, which they do, once or twice or 3 times a day. You can see to the left of this picture that you have on the screen now of how deteriorated the top of that concrete structure for the railway is. So currently our employees are parking in our main parking area. We've got 11 employees that are driving to work. So they're taking up a fair chunk of the existing parking that we currently have. And then we have a consistent stream of walk-in customers that are, bringing in parts to us. So they're taking up vehicles too. And a lot of them are, box trucks or larger vehicles than, passenger automobiles. There are more trucks. And,
Right. It is a manufacturing operation here.
So our thought was in the two-story building that you have on the screen now, we were going to add a few parking spots, so a little bit more asphalt for our employees to park in, to leave the main parking area for our customers.
Tim, any comment?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, given
Oh,
the testimony and support from City Planning, I move that we approve the variances as requested for calendar number 20-121, noting that the appellant has agreed to do the black coated fencing as suggested by Mr. Donovan.
Also, let's add about the barbed wire so that we don't have to have this poor guy come back.
Yeah, they have, right. Yes, let's add that they have testified that the barbed wire will be added to the top of the fence.
Okay. Second, call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just before we call the roll, this also includes us holding ratification until we receive that revised drawing, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, we will.
All right, I'll call the roll. Ms. Barnes?
Ms. Barnes. Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-121 is granted conditionally. We'll hold that pending the revised drawings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Faith, let's start with Gifford Avenue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-124 at 4501 Gifford Avenue. Tim Foster, owner, proposes to install 122 linear feet of a 6-foot-high wooden fence with gate along side street yard in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Tim, go right ahead.
Will everyone for this case kindly raise your right hand? I'm going to read a statement at the end of which I'm looking for a response with the 2 words "I do" and then your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Tim Foster.
Anyone else?
Okay. History of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In the records room I found, a permit was issued in 1921 to erect a store with a dwelling, a 2-story structure, and a garage. There are no variances on file for this address and nothing of note in the more recent history.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wagner, the legal standard we'll be judging this case on.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the fence requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Foster.
Good morning.
Okay, yes, let's want to see. 122 feet. I want to, do we have a sketch that how this is going down from the front of this building?
I have a site plan submitted as well as a little concept image of what it will look like. That's
okay. There. Oh, that's what.
So these are other fences in the area that are similar in being close to the sidewalk.
We don't know if they're legal, so we're not going to look at those.
Okay. So this is the type of fencing I want to put in, the design at least. And the last image in this presentation. So I did a little Photoshop work, and the image on the right is a concept of what I want it to look like.
And it has to be that high because of the location, or?
We're trying to get privacy. We have 4 children and want to keep them safe in the area, as well as to fence in that side door and the driveway. We get packages delivered quite often to that side door, and they're constantly left within a few feet of the sidewalk. People walking by had some things taken, and the driveway is right there as well. I want to get that fenced in. I had a basketball hoop stolen before, and it's just one of those things. I want to keep privacy and security for the property.
Thank you. Maurice, city planning?
Madam Chair, I guess the only piece that we are concerned about here is the corner next to the driveway.
Yeah, if they could angle that off, would that help?
Correct.
Mr. Foster, do you understand?
Talking about the distance of the gate to the road.
In other words, if someone was walking down that sidewalk and you were backing out of the garage, they wouldn't see you till they were on the sidewalk practically.
Okay.
So if
Yeah,
you
there's-
could angle that last piece.
He couldn't see them.
There's a couple things for that. So my neighbor to the south has a fence already installed up to the corner of my driveway. It's also privacy, so it's impossible to see through that. So my fence on that side would not at all change the visibility. And then you'll notice on the north side of the driveway is a large tree. And so even if we angle the fence into the inside of that tree, the tree would still block visibility on that corner. And then as well, when we're putting a gate in for the driveway, I was planning on using gates that are on hinges. And with that being said, I wouldn't be able to put the gate across the entire driveway because of the limits of hinge gates. And it would also block some of the access space. So we'd only be able to pull cars in if I had the full length of the driveway to use. If I had to put the fence in 4 feet from there, I'd have to install a rolling gate. And at that point, I'd have to put the fence in a lot farther along the whole yard to accommodate the rolling gate support along the fence.
Wow. Okay. Maurice, Cleveland, planning.
Can I ask one question? What is the measurement between the house and the fence along the sidewalk?
It's about 7 or 8 feet. I don't remember the exact measurement.
Pretty tight. Huh?
Yes.
It's too bad he didn't put a porch. He could put a side porch in.
Yeah, we want to put a porch in the front eventually.
Wrap around.
Yeah. The side door is pretty low, though.
It would look a lot better, I'll tell you that.
Oh, boy. Okay. I called on Maurice. Comments? City planning?
Yeah, I guess I do have the concern about, you described people backing out. This is a completely opaque fence, 6 foot tall next to the driveway. But I also understand the difficulty that they have with the tree right there on the corner.
Right.
And obviously we don't want them to remove the tree. It's a beautiful tree. This is a difficult situation here. I'm not really sure what the correct solution is.
Well, I don't know, a couple of years ago, we had somebody install a mirror on top of that fence, on top of their fence. That seems to be working out fairly well. so that they would be able to see.
I have no objection to that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Foster, any comments?
That would be fine. If that's the solution that would work for the committee, then I'm fine with that.
Any comments, board? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll go ahead and make the motion on this case, given the restrictions of the distance, the tree especially, and the neighbor's fence. I don't think there's really many other solutions for the appellant. So I move that we approve this variance.
Would you want the camera, I mean, on the mirror or not?
Yes, with the installation of the mirror.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes, Ms. Barnes.
Ms. Britt,
Yes.
Mr. Donovan,
Yeah.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
Calendar number 20-124 is granted with conditions. We'll ratify this case next week and send you a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to East 91st Street since we're holding Kenilworth till the end. Is that correct, Mrs. Kukla?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, go ahead, Faith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-65 at 1316 East 91st Street. Stephanie, excuse the pronunciation, Develarue, owner, proposes to establish use as a residential facility for 5 occupants in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Mr. Donovan?
Madam Chair, just wanted to, sorry, can I just interrupt real quick? Madam Chair, Councilman Zone just typed that he has an 11 o'clock meeting and he wanted to call case number 20-104. He has to leave at 11.
Fine. We'll hold whoever's on for this case on East 91st Street. We're going to hold so that Councilman Zone can participate. Thank you all. Calendar 20-104, Ms. Faith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar 20-104 at 1216 West 67th Street. Andrew O'Connick and Tim Brown, owner, propose to erect a 3-story frame single-family residence with attached garage in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Tim?
For everyone for this case, kindly raise your right hand. I'm going to read a statement at the end of which I ask you to affirm your testimony with the words "I do" and your name. Here we go. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name?
Crawford, Cleveland Custom Homes.
Anyone else?
I do. Matt Zone.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, let's move forward.
Okay. History of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The property was zoned general industry originally in 1929. In 1978, it was changed to two-family residential. In the records room, I found a permit was issued in 1935 to demolish a dwelling on the site. Then there are no variances on file for this address and nothing of note in the more recent history.
Thank you very much. Yielding to a law department, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the garage placement, garage screening, maximum gross floor area, and retaining wall requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. And I would just note that number 2 of this request, approval of City Planning Commission Department is required that the board can grant variances to that particular condition.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Wagner. Who's going to be the spokesperson for this property?
Hey, Madam Chairwoman, if I could, I'd like to make some opening remarks.
Absolutely, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since I requested the original continuance when it was scheduled on August 3rd, I just wanted to create some context for the hearing today. The main presenter will be Jeff Crawford from Cleveland Custom Homes. You know, Madam Chairwoman, as you know, my office gets very involved with all matters. I don't even like coming to the Board of Appeals because I try to do all of the work at the front end so we can work through these issues. So if in the rare instance a variance is requested, there's really no surprises connected with it. The footprint is challenging because of the topography. There is a little bit of a hillside. And when I became aware of what was being proposed, it was already after plans were submitted. They were proposing originally a front-end loaded garage close to the street. And so the planning department and myself convened a meeting with the new homeowners as well as their architect and their builder, Mr. Crawford, to talk through that. We were able to share with them kind of the history with the new design standards that have come into play around front-end loaded garages. I feel horrible for Mr. Okonkey and Mr. Brown to have had to now redraw their dream home a second time. So I want to acknowledge that at the front end. I apologize this hardship they created on them. I would strongly encourage that the Board of Zoning Appeals work closely with the Planning Department and ensure before any matter is coming on to the calendar that they've had an opportunity to meet with the local development corporation, the local council person ahead of time. This matter could have been avoided. This plan probably would have been approved a month ago, and they would have been well on their way to construction. Having said all that, I am thankful that the new homeowners saw the challenges that we were struggling. When I say we, collectively, the planning department in my office with supporting variances for something that is not in our housing policy. So they went back to the drawing board. That's what you're going to see this morning. I think it's a beautiful design. It respects the neighborhood. It respects a lot of the architectural design that's in there, and it neatly deals with the garage. So some of these variances might not be needed at this point, but I'm going to be quiet and reserve some comments for the end. And if it's okay with you, Madam Chairman, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Crawford to walk through the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Zone. Mr. Crawford, do you have a letter from the prospective owners that you could represent them?
I submitted to be on the agenda. They signed
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, go right ahead then. Tell us all about this project.
Thank you, everyone. And I echo everything Councilman Zone just said about the redesign of the project for Tim and Andy. So one of the last things Councilman Zone mentioned was some of these items 1 through 5 may not pertain to this agenda, given that we redesign the home. Specifically, item number 1, the garage is no longer on the front. As you can see, the garage is on the rear. Also, item number 3, 4, and 5, the retaining walls that were on the original plan because of that design all went away. And that leaves us with, by the way, there is a retaining wall up front for access down to the basement that shows about, 2 to 3 feet of, shows about 2 to 3 feet. So, but ultimately it sounds like the only item that's remaining is item number 2, square footage. I'd like to note that when we received the item number, I'm sorry, it's item number 3 is square footage. I apologize. Item number 3, based on the zoning appeals agenda, says that there's 3,806 square feet proposed. I'd like to point out that the total square foot proposed is 2,577 square feet. And that is the first and second floor combined. We are providing the customer with a finished basement, and there is additional square footage for that, but it's not considered living space. So I guess that's where we're at. I'd like to speak to any of that if you have questions.
Well, I'm liking the design a whole lot.
Thank you.
Yes, I think you all
Madam
have done a
Chair?
nice job. Yes,
Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla. I don't know if the appellant understands that the garage is included in the, because it is attached, it is included in the total square footage of this.
Okay, I did not understand that. So the garage isn't it? Yeah, okay, the garage. Okay, I didn't know that.
okay, what is the height of this building?
I'm sorry, what's that?
The height, what is that height?
Let me see here. The height is,
There's usually 2 measurements for the height. Aren't there, Maurice, 2 measurements that deal with height?
I'm trying to pull this up.
Yeah, you take the medium of the this is Councilman Zone speaking. The plan, it shows it is, I'm trying to blow it up, Maurice, if you could blow up the height.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me see if I can do that.
31.
Not sure where the height is on this drawing.
The other image. Go back to the other image, the one to the left. Yes, this
There you
one.
go.
And
That's
it's
it.
the inside. It's the inside line. That's the height. You take the medium of. It's not the peak of the roof. It's the medium. So, what is that height, Maurice? Blow it up.
38 something.
35, 38 feet.
Yeah.
Well, that's showing from the bottom.
That's showing the, that's showing the roof line, yeah.
Madam Chair, this is Kelly. I believe this is to address someone's question in the chat, and height is not needed for a variance for this case. Just so I want to have that on the record.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe it would be written up for a variance for that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Riccardi, if
It's a new drawing.
it is a new drawing, you're correct. So I don't know if Mr. Riccardi has had a chance to review this to see if it meets the height. And this is the first time I've seen this drawing. Although I will say that I've spoken to the neighborhood planner and the internal housing design review subcommittee met and reviewed and approved this design.
Given the changes of the design, I just asked this as a process question. Is there enough changes here that would require us to actually repost it?
I think that would be a question for Ms. Wagner.
It does not appear it needs to be reposted because variances were just eliminated as far as I can determine.
Well, we may have a height variance coming our way.
Well, if a height variance is needed, then definitely it would need to be reposted.
The height of the,
written up
so
for that.
this is Councilman, the height is 35.2. If you look at the back rear of the house, remember the topography of the hillside is the majority of the footprint of the house sits on that same, it's just at the front of the house that the property dips down low. But you'll see the back measurement at the back, it's right at
It's
that
45 feet. You're correct, Councilman.
Okay.
I'd like to come off mute. I do, John Gessler, I joined late. Neighbor to the north of this property, adjacent to, and fully support it.
Thank you very much, John. Any other comments or questions? Oh,
Madam Chair, yes, we have a letter from Mr. Thompson, who was actually on the call but is unable to speak. And he had objected, although I believe his objections were based on the previous design.
Again, this is Councilman Zone. Yes, that is correct.
okay. Good.
And I do want to acknowledge Mr. Thompson is in the chat box, so he is viewing this hearing, and all of his initial concerns were in relationship with the original design. And my comment is directed to Mr. Thompson, is that we worked really hard with the new homeowners to bring this house into compliancy. I'm very comfortable with it. It fits contextually in the neighborhood. And it is actually lower in height than the two new homes that were built on the corner of West 67 and Father Caruso.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions, board? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, this is Kelly. Given the testimony and support from the councilman as well as city planning, I move that we approve the variances as requested for calendar number 20-104, noting that the appellant has said that there are new plans, and so that the only variance that is needed is number 2 for the square footage, and also section 34102 we cannot give.
Second. Call the roll.
So, Madam Chair, for the record, we are only granting a variance for item number 3 regarding section 355.04. Every other item has been met with the revised drawings.
That's correct.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will call the roll. Ms. Barnes?
Yes, Ms. Barnes.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yep.
Ms. Britt? And Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar number 20-104 is granted conditionally based on the revised drawings. This case will be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Councilman Zone.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilman. Okay.
Ms.
We'll go
Ms. Kukla and Board and Chairman, this is Councilman Polensik. I've been on the line here since 9:30.
Welcome.
Just making you aware, I'm here for the East 185th Street case. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. We had already put on the agenda East 91st Street, and then we postponed it. We overruled it and went on to the West 67th because of Councilman Zone. Do we want to do that again to those poor people that we had already talked to on 91st?
Ask Councilman Polensik.
Councilman Polensik, this might be fast because we've already had the testimony taken, and I
have no problem with that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's go back to calendar 20-65 at 1316 East 91st Street. Stephanie Bezero?
I think we were up to swearing in, weren't we?
Yes.
Okay, so for everyone for this case, you should kindly raise your right hand. I'm going to read a statement. At the end of the statement, I look for you to respond. Anyone looking to testify with the words "I do," and then give us your name. Here we go. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, Stephanie Devereaux.
Anyone else?
Okay. Very good. We've had the history of the property. Let's just have the legal standard one more time, please. Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting an area variance from the spacing requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Welcome back, Stephanie.
Hello, good morning.
Have you had time to meet with Kim Scott from the Planning Commission?
So I called her and I also sent her an email a few times. I just sent that in the chat. I'm not sure if you're able to receive it, but I also emailed it to include it in this presentation. So no, I have not heard back from her. However, I have been reaching out to her, and if I could go into her office, I would have, but her voicemail said that she is out of the office, but she would get back to me. But I know with COVID and everything, people might be taking a little longer than usual. But I did reach out to her a few occasions.
Madam Chair, is this the case where the one cited use that was within 1,000 feet, we found out that that was no longer in use, so it's discontinued? Is this that case? I'm trying to remember.
No, that case was that adjudicated that case already.
Yes.
It was in the Huff area.
Okay.
Maurice, can you go back to the picture of the house that maybe help refresh? Yeah.
Okay. It's a nice house.
And also, just so you know, since this image, we have cut the shrubs on the side. And just to kind of reintroduce myself, I am Stephanie Devereaux, but I am Stephanie Devereaux who operates closely with Brookridge Therapeutic Services, which we are a non-for-profit. And like I said, I included some pictures just to kind of give you guys an idea of what we do locally in the community. Oh, wait, that was the email. It did get transferred. So that, again, is showing, it states that I did call, left a message, as well as emailed her as well. But I haven't heard from her since then. But that's just to kind of give you some documentation of what's going on. But this is what we do. As far as we work closely with veterans, and this is our mentor and mentee segment where veterans, you can continue just to go along. It's just kind of give you an idea of what we do. So this is one property in Euclid that it was a blight in the community, and we now have a family living in there. But before the family lived in there, that's a veteran with the red and white hat, and he trains young boys to repair homes around the neighborhood, including 91st. And we also do food drop-off drives. This is more during COVID, so we now drop food off that, you can continue as well, to local seniors, veterans as well. So like I said, I am Stephanie Devereaux, but I am also Stephanie Devereaux operating a non-for-profit. And I say that to say, we are here to help the community. We are not seeking to open up a group home. We are seeking to open up a living facility so that people can be more independent, be more productive. We also have a contract with Cleveland Heights where we get lawn cuttings, and we have about 60 lawns that need to be cut every 2 weeks. So we are also giving them employment through that as well. So with this property, we want to make this our first model where our veterans can also live in this house, and as at the same time be able to help the community with the services that we already offer, to have them engaged. And lastly, we also partner with an independent referral service that what they do, they help them with their mental capacity and screenings, making sure that they're able to live in a neighborhood. And even before we place the veterans in the home, we also practice intense screenings, have intense criminal background checks, because for us to even qualify to get grant money, we have to have certain practices. So like I said, I didn't really get to give you the full, painting of what it is that we do. So I just wanted to show you with pictures what exactly we are doing and what exactly we are seeking to do. And secondly, that property to the is our next property that we want to turn from. It's currently condemned. We found the owner, and they are willing to also donate that to our non-for-profit, which we also want to revitalize what we did with this property as well.
Thank you very much, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Board, any questions?
It's a major issue, the issue of proximity to other locations. Is that the main thing holding us up?
Yes.
It was a proximity of it being 1,000 feet from another group home, which I did the calculation and was 1,050 feet.
Good for you.
So is that as the bird flies across?
Yes. I'm willing to enter. Tim,
Was your measurement a straight line, or did you use streets, or what?
No, so I did it from not street, but I did it from as if I was at the property and I had 1,000 square, sort of say, and did a radius to see if it fit within that 1,000 square radius.
Okay.
Okay. Maurice, any comments you'd like to make now as representative of the planning department?
Madam Chair, the only comment I could make is that I guarantee you that our measurements from the GIS, the Geographic Information System, are definitely accurate. It looks like it's about a half a block inside of the 1,000 foot rule.
Yeah.
From the other house.
Is there going to be a problem if we okay this one and then she buys the house next door and wants to do the same thing? She'll be back again in front of us, and then we're going to have the house next door.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, the entire reason that council passed this law was to stop a clustering of residential facilities. I would ask Ms. Kukla, have we heard from the councilman on this?
Who is it?
Or I guess the applicant, have you spoken to Mr. Jones?
So I've spoken closely with Bashir Jones, and we've already worked close knit with him, and he called us personally and had a family of 6 children that were homeless, and we actually sheltered them in one of our properties on Inglemar Avenue, 12325, and they paid $300 of rent where rent value was $800, and we were able to do that because of our, the grants that we do receive. So yes, we do work very closely with him, and we have a relationship with him, and he is very aware of what we're trying to do.
Can you give us a support letter?
Yes, I don't have one now, but I can reach out to him.
So we could make a ruling based on. Go ahead, Maureen.
Madam Chair, and to Mr. Donovan, if we were to obtain a support letter from Councilman Jones, then we would not object to this. However, I would point out that being that the applicant has stated that they want to acquire the building next door, and do the same thing, that we now, that we would then have 3.
Well, no, I don't want to do the same thing with the property next door. But what I want to do, property that's condemned, and turn it into a functioning house. That is priority number 1.
Okay.
Well, then we would have obviously no objection to that at all.
Yeah, really. Okay. I will entertain a
Madam
motion.
Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla. I would just like to state that, I did not find any letter from the councilman, but I also did not receive any objections, phone calls, or letters regarding this variance request.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion, board.
Madam Chair, based on the testimony, the track record, and the good intent of both the person and organization, I would move that we approve the variance request pending a letter of support from the council.
Second.
Okay, call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Ms. Barnes, yes.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yep.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Good luck,
Calendar
Stephanie.
20
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
We'll hold this pending the letter. Once we receive that letter, then we'll ratify your case and send you a letter.
Wonderful. So who do I send that letter to?
Send it to me, please.
Okay, Ms.
Liz
Kukla.
Kukla. Liz Kukla, yeah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kukla. And thank you, everyone else.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, did we want to move to the case for where Mr. Polensek, Councilman Polensek is waiting?
Yes. 20-099 at 532 East 185th Street. Go ahead, Ms. Faith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-099 at 532 East 185th Street. G. Wood Enterprises, LLC, owner, proposes to expand bar use to include private offices, den, and live entertainment in a C1 local retail business district and pedestrian overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Yielding to, go ahead, Tim.
Would everyone for this case raise your right hand, please? If you've been on the call, you know what we're about to do. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
Laura Bella.
I need names.
I do. Marlene Gatewood Allen.
I do. Robert Gatewood. I do. Jamar Doyle. And I do. Jamar Doyle from Greater Collinwood.
And I do. Sharon Watley.
Okay.
And where is the councilman? Did he say?
Yes.
I believe he was. I believe.
Said I do.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay. History of the property, Liz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 2007, it was changed to local retail and placed in a pedestrian retail overlay district. In the records room, I found only that in 1941, a pole sign was erected on the property. In 1964, a permit was issued to hard surface of parking lot. 1979, a permit was issued for alterations to a club room. There are no variances on file. And in the more recent history, I found a permit was issued in 2013 as for an existing use permit for a private club, an A2 assembly with food and drink. A certificate of occupancy was required at that time. I did not see a certificate of occupancy issued after that date, though. And Madam Chair, that's all that I have.
Thank you very much. Yielding to the law department, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting use variances, continuation of non-conforming landscaping and/or area variances from the landscaping and off-street parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain use variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship, particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, the appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Section 35207 of the zoning code states that the board shall require compliance with the landscaping requirements of the zoning code following a change of use. If such compliance would not require the acquisition of additional land, full or partial removal or relocation of sound major structures, or creation of other circumstances that would produce hardship or practical difficulty.
Thank you very much. Who's going to be the spokesperson for G. Wood?
It's her company, but I'm her right hand and a spokesperson for the most part. I'm Robert.
And your name is?
Robert Gatewood.
Gatewood, okay. Thank you very much. All right, Robert, tell us exactly what you'd like to do.
So The short is we've taken 532 and we're moving a business that we initially started a few blocks south at 818 East 185th and expanding it. We're calling it the Gatewood Home Share. It's, if you're not familiar with co-working spaces, it's kind of a community hub space that throughout the week would operate where people can come pick up UPS packages, get home cooked meals, use internet, Wi-Fi, and other business and or personal use materials in our space. It's a pretty flexible use in that way. We also to use it as a rentable venue for business meetings, personal gatherings, and pop-up kitchen use, stuff like that. I'm not sure, Liz, if the presentation that we set is attached to this. If you could move forward, that's this isn't the newest one we set. Is there any way for me to share my screen?
No, we don't have that. We don't have that ability right now.
We sent a newer, Ms. Kukla, didn't we send you the newer updated presentation? The revision's old. Okay, so long story short with that, we had to in front of the DRC and the CPC to get matters in the front portion of our lot addressed, the front landscaping. We're planning on doing landscaping and plants along the eastern border, which is the end of what used to be a parking lot. That area is intended to become what we're calling the East 185th Street Market Park, an open sales lot that we provide to neighbors, makers from the city and from the community more specifically to come and sell their wares during the summer months. So one of the main, yeah, it's kind of tricky because that's not at all accurate.
Madam Chair, I just sent that over to Maurice.
So is this the new plan?
Yes,
There we go.
that's accurate. There we
Okay.
go. So yeah, looking at the entire property, the bottom half of the page is the westernmost border. The brown area is where we talked with the design review to address the poles that were in front. We're going to put landscaping and plants and shrubs to cover up the poles there. That gray area is going to be the market park, which used to be a parking lot. Cars will no longer go there. And within that is a bike rack. Along the northern portion of our property, the drive path is at its smallest, 19 feet wide and 40 feet wide at its largest. We have 21 parking spots as of right now, and all of this except for the expansion of parking spots 14 through 18 were existing. We didn't change anything to the footprint of the building. The top part of it, the westernmost border, is this retainer wall that's actually the backside of a parking lot.
Excuse me, can I interrupt for just 1 second? Councilman, could you please mute your phone?
Thank you.
Muted, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No worries, thank you. I was saying, yeah, the rear portion, the westernmost wall, that's a barrier wall. It's 15 feet high. It's the back end of a parking garage to the apartment building to our west. So that one of the variances is around not needing to do anything relative to landscaping there because it's a fixed wall and it prevents any disturbance. I would imagine people are concerned about happening in our back. Structurally, the two things that we needed variances for were the back wall and the landscaping up front. We went to CPC and got approvals, and got approvals for the front portion. But in terms of operations, if you go to the next page, we want to talk a little bit about what we noticed. So as it relates to what it says our use is, live entertainment feels kind of inaccurate. We do intend to have inside the building the ability for people to rent our space and use it for, like, if you see on this picture, we've had Creative Mornings came out and did a business consult meeting. We do meetings with a lot of neighborhood and greater Cleveland stakeholders just for business purposes, but we have a small stage. Our intent isn't to do ticketed concerts. Rent our space when we're not doing our normal co-working. They'd have the ability to use the inside of our space for a music release party or a book signing or something like that. But we have no intent to use our rear deck, which is, if you go back again, I'll show that. So the brown is the deck. It's on the rear of the building. We don't have that as a performance area. So that part of the property is kind of overlooking 4 or 5 houses on Rosecliff. I would imagine that there were some concerns that there would be disturbance coming from there, but that's not how we intend to do our stuff. Everything performance-wise, hopefully, we knock on wood, we could get 185th Street Festival going again, get the walk and roll going. Performance like that will happen on the open sales lot in the front. And all of our hours at the previous venue were limited to about, I think, 1:30. But here we're expecting to stop rentals and other events at midnight at the latest, and services probably stop. Sure of what we're trying to morph our business a little bit. Let me see. Yeah, but relative to all of the physical variances, the 2 landscaping issues and the bike rack are in here, and we got approvals from DRC and CPC related to that. So if you could go forward 2 pages, I think.
I have a question before you go.
Sure.
My question is this going to be like a flea market?
No.
No. No, not a flea market at all. It's like a platform for the small businesses we support to sell their products. Maybe sometimes I might hold a community yard sale where families can come and use our equipment to, sell their items on the front lot. So it's another like space for our members to use. So people make soap, people make jewelry. It's that type of thing. That's why it's an open sales lot.
So the expansion of what we did up the street, including that outdoors, is kind of accommodating what our neighborhood used to have in East Shore Park Club. Some of the park clubs on the northern side of Lakeshore had makers markets where local and not local people would come and sell stuff. That's not a regular resource anymore. So we wanted to have that ability, and we actually won a grant. Collinwood Connects, Greater Collinwood Development. Jamar could probably speak better to that. We won $4,000 to expand our business to include a market park for creatives in our neighborhood, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs, small startups, and makers that don't have support services. So our space would offer a lot of that. Business consult, mailing, mail address, a venue to sell the things, graphic design, back-end support, marketing, all of that stuff kind of happens here. And the meat on the bones of keeping the business open is renting for birthday parties or business meetings. Makers that want to present their new stuff, they can rent the space, and doing all of that in a community-centric sort of way. So that's what this business overview is. So if you skip to the next page. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, like I mentioned, we'll have food sales in here. We'll offer catering in-house. We'll also accept catering from small businesses that follow all proper guidelines and are accredited to do what they're doing. We'll for regular nights where the in-house staff will sell food, probably Sunday night dinners, scratch rental for people trying to start up like cookie businesses and stuff, and they don't know where to go. They don't know what the rules are for doing things properly. They come to us and learn that, and we direct them to the correct city and county resources. Pop-up nights with chefs. We offer lunch and just for co-working members that use us for their co-working stuff. And we cater the meetings. So if you go to the next page. Some of the in-house programming we offer is entrepreneur and I'm trying to figure out the right language, but entrepreneur and neighborhood education stuff. So teaching kids how to manage time properly, how to use video games and entertainment to lead towards better opportunities in their education and becoming employed. art and business workshops where people bring all of their art and sell it. We partner with a couple of art gallery owners. They're not physical anymore, but they're going to curate a space in our area where artists are going to have opening and closing receptions and feature their stuff. Consumer technology courses for young and old. So people don't know how to do email, we'll teach it. Show people how to fax. They can fax here. They can learn how to use social media responsibly, that kind of stuff. And the pictures show some of the previous stuff we did up the street. So if you go to the next one. And we're pretty heavily tied in our neighborhood. My mom got me involved right as I was getting out of college, but she's been involved in our CDC world since 2012, 2013. Mr. Polenzic's been a huge supporter of everything we've been doing. We tend to try to work with the institutions in our area. So I'm slowly, fingers crossed, everything goes well here, figure out something with O.H. Perry, figuring out something with Collinwood High School, making these kinds of offerings available to our neighborhood so they can self-generate better stuff for themselves. Next page. And as I mentioned before, the events go across the board. We've done memorial services, creative mornings, business gatherings, birthday parties, movie releases, movie recording. We've had 3 films shot at our previous space, and hopefully we can pick that up once COVID's over with. Teleconferencing hubs, which is going to be more important as we figure out how to connect with people not in person, office parties, all kind of stuff. But the big thing to try to take away from it is we're not really an entertainment venue in the traditional way. We're not looking to have concerts or any event that's more or less explicitly just entertainment. Everything we do is kind of wrap around and touches in community improvement in some way. Next page. Co-working, simple enough. I described all of that. People pay a flat rate and either get a mailing address, free internet and unlimited coffee, place to gather, file storage. It just depends on the level of money they want to pay. For $5, they can get coffee. For $50 a month, they can get an address for their business startup. And we offer connections to the civic resources that helped us get our business started. Next page, I think, is the last one. And the final piece is the market park, that open shared lot we were talking about in the front. These are the kinds of events we're expecting to hold there. I anticipate we'd work with Greater Collinwood and a couple other nonprofits to use our space for community yard sales, the makers markets, team building events. We're working through some details in terms of what's allowed, but neighborhood movie nights where people can bring a blanket, cat, entrepreneur event. So there's a program called Little Entrepreneur where my mother works with young kids and walks them through the process of actually running a business of themselves. So we have ice cream treats they learned how to make and then package and sell. Yeah, so it's a total wraparound neighborhood support system that we're trying to build. But that's an overview of everything we're doing. I believe we answered every question required of the variances. If not, please ask. But that's all I've got for you.
Whoa, I can't believe. It's overwhelming. Your sites. Yes, exactly. But Councilman, we'd like to hear from you, even though you like to go last. I am just love to hear from you.
Okay, yeah, because I usually like to hear from the other folks first, but if need be, I will do it. You know, I'm very much aware of the site. It was let me back up a moment. As you are aware, I'm very engaged as it pertains to zoning variances in my community and have appeared before the board on many occasions when we were meeting face to face and have been on this online stuff since the pandemic, which I hate, quite frankly. And I apologize. I was trying to take care of some other business when you guys are very much trying to take care of a dead deer over here. So get that removed. But anyway, that's I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none at this point. But the fact of the matter is I'm aware of this property. It was a former fraternal order of the Eagles for as long as I can recall. And as we're seeing nationally, our World War II vets, our Korean War vets, as they have passed on institutions such as this have started to fall by the wayside. This venue closed, I'm assuming, about 7 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, I'm thinking. I tried to work with them. They lost their liquor license due to internal problems. And my greatest fear had been the individuals who approached me that they wanted to, quote unquote, stick a bar in this location. As most people know in the neighborhood, I am opposed to bars coming onto 185th Street. We want restaurants. We want venues that are going to attract quality people. And what we're trying to do on East 185th Street, and Robert and the Gatewoods are, I think, a good example of it. We're trying to reinvent the street. We're trying to bring in different types of venues and businesses that can attract a wide variety of individuals, not only from the neighborhood, from without. We are presently putting in a $15 million storm sewer project down the street. We know that that has to happen. When that is completed by the end of this year, we will start the process for a streetscape program, which should span over a 2-year period. First phase should be from Pawnee Avenue north to the lake. That's the first phase, and then from Pawnee south to Philippi Road. So we are planning, when I say we, the City of Cleveland, my office, the community, we're planning a massive infrastructure there. But in the process, as a result of COVID-19 and the crash, economic crash, many of the businesses have become substantially stressed. Some businesses have told it already, unfortunately. And what we're trying to do with the businesses that are there and that we're trying to attract in is to create unique venues, create opportunities. This, I believe, is one of those unique opportunities for the street. As you look at the site, there is sufficient parking in the rear. The front in the day was used as a vehicle storage lot for Lakeshore Chevrolet, and then prior to that for Jack Shaw Chevrolet, which had been there since the 50s. So it was just one sea of cars and trucks, new trucks and cars parked in front of the establishment, the Eagles. They leased it out to the owners of the Chevy dealer. So I'm looking forward, as the community, is this something unique in front, something landscaped and improved and enhanced that generates some activity. Obviously, the internal inside of the building is set up for a bar/club room in the basement and some of the first floor. And so I really want to see this building put back in productive use that is going to enhance the community. If I thought this was going to be a entertainment venue that was going to adversely affect the residents on Rosecliff, I would not be supporting it. If it was going to be another bar, I would not be supporting it. That's why years ago I put forth the zoning to create the local retail district and the entire street, so to make it more restrictive, so we could have impacts on who is attempting to locate in our community. The Gatewoods have ran up the street, as been indicated, a former gamer haven, which was a very nice operation. I never had any complaints about it at all. Very well run, very nice on the inside, well managed, well operated. And so to me, I'm looking at what they did down the street, and I'm looking at this location now with the hope that it's even going to be a better operation and really enhance this portion of the street, which has really become very desolate as a result of the Lakeshore Chevrolet closing. It's just been a sea of emptiness, a sea of empty asphalt across the street where the main dealership was on the Euclid side of the street. That's all been demolished. So you have this major void in this critical East 185th Street corridor, 2-mile long street, the border between Cleveland and Euclid, and the main commercial strip corridor on the northeast side. We need to see some new life in this portion of the roadway. We need to see some vitality. We need to see some interest. And I'm hoping that what the Gatewoods are trying to attempt to do here which is very ambitious, no doubt about it. But we're all hoping that it's going to be successful, and it will be that linchpin to bring other businesses and other venues in that portion of the street and really start to create a vibe, create some interest up in that section. And then who knows what can happen with other empty buildings along the corridor in that area. So I'm supportive. If I felt this was going to be a detriment in any way, shape, or form, I wouldn't be supporting it. And everyone knows my position out there. I don't put up with no crap. I'm not going to tolerate anything on that street. And so I believe this will enhance the corridor and enhance this specific piece of property, which has been sitting there, again, vacant for, I'd say, approximately 7 to 8 years. So that's what my comment is.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, I think Sharonda was sworn in.
Yes, she was.
Okay, I'd like to hear from her.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Sharonda Watley. I'm the neighborhood planner with Cleveland City Planning Department. So I have been working very closely with the Gatewoods. This particular proposal. They did go through design review at Planning Commission.
Sharonda, hold on. Somebody's phone needs to be muted. Okay, go ahead, Sharonda.
Sorry about that. I have been working very closely with the Gatewoods on this particular property. They did go through design review as well as planning commission approvals at both meetings for their site plan. So there is quite a bit of support from well as and so if you take a look at the site plan that you're seeing right now, that it attempt to address through the landscape and the bike rack on their updated site plan. There was a requirement for some rear landscaping, but they do have that wall already in existence that we are hoping satisfies the need for the variance request. So there are a few other items that I believe that Mr. Gatewood spoke to in terms of the uses. And so we are asking that you consider granting them the variances that they are asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharonda. Now, how many others were sworn in, Maurice? I'd like to hear from everybody.
Madam Chair, if everybody is here in support of it, I think given the time and the cases we have before us.
Yes, let's move it along. I agree.
I mean, I'd ask, is anybody here opposed to it?
Yes, if anyone here is opposed to it, please raise your hand. We have no hands raised.
Kelly, can you help me here?
We are then going to assume that everybody is for this project.
That's what we're assuming.
Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, based on the testimony given, very detailed testimony, I might add, given the support evident in the community and eloquently put by the councilman, I would move that we would grant the requested variances.
Second, call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Ms. Barnes, yes.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yep.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-99 is granted based on the revised plan submitted in the PowerPoint today. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you so much, Liz.
So much.
Appreciate all of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Calendar 20-101 on Gulfview Drive. Go ahead, Ms. Bates.
Madam Chair, we skipped over 4700 Lorraine in order to take Councilman Polinsik's case.
Oh, suppose I should go back, huh? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-045 at 4700 Lorraine Avenue. Seamus O. Inc. and Don Hangauer, owners, propose to establish use as an event center on a parcel that is split zone 2-family residential and local retail business, and is also located in the pedestrian retail overlay district. The owner appeals from the strict application of the following Cleveland codified ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Tim?
Will everyone for this case, please raise your right hand. After my statement, please respond with the words "I do" and give us your name. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Anybody?
I do.
Okay, your name?
Christina. I do, Ashley Shaw. Sorry, Ashley.
I do. Michael Nolan.
Okay.
I do, Christina Christensen.
Okay.
I do, Matt. I do, John Haggerty with Urban Community School.
Anybody else?
I do, Jillian Pets.
Yeah, I do, Don Pettit.
Okay. Anyone else?
I do, Matt Moss, City Planning.
One more time. I do. Anybody else?
You got a whole crowd today there. Thank you very much.
I know.
History of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla. Liz?
Muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I pushed the button and it didn't happen. All right, so it was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 2011, it was changed to local retail and pedestrian retail overlay. In 1925, a permit was issued to erect a two-story brick addition to the building. 1946, a brick and concrete addition was erected on the property and use was established as a pretzel factory. There are two variances on file. In calendar 80-232 in 1980, a variance was granted to convert a second floor to metal spinning manufacturing. And then in the more recent history, Madam Chair, I just found signage and other interior and exterior alterations on the property. That's all that I have.
Thank you very much. Ellingfield Law Department, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Helen is requesting a use variance and area variances from the front facade, signage, off-street parking, landscaping, and fence regulations of the zoning code. To obtain use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, the appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Who's going to be the spokesperson for the owners?
Myself, Christina Christensen.
Okay, Christina. Tell us exactly what you'd like to do.
So we want to convert the first floor to a small venue with a primary focus on weddings of less than 100 people on Saturdays only, and then small like baby showers, bridal showers, rehearsal dinner sort of things on Sunday. We would be having the events end at 11 with everyone off site by 11:30. We have contracted with Mixology Inc. to handle alcohol flow. We have 18 parking spaces in the rear of the building. Per code, we needed an additional 32 spaces, and we have been in communication with John Haggerty at the Urban Community School. We are in talks with a 5-year contract with him for 32 spaces behind the Metro building across the street from ours. That's pretty much what I have for you guys.
Who's the planner for the area? Is this Adam?
Ashley Shaw.
Ashley Shaw.
We have Matthew Moss is the planner for this area.
Right. Okay, Matthew. Let's hear from Matthew next before I hear Ashley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Matt Moss, I'm here to answer any questions the board may have as this relates to our plans for how the code is applied here. What I can say is the way Ohio City is currently designated in terms of zoning, pretty much all the retail uses are zoned for either Lorraine Avenue, West 25th, in Detroit and Fulton. So these variances, I think, are fairly expected given where we've zoned retail uses of any kind in this neighborhood. You can really only be on those main corridors. Much of the internal streets of the neighborhood are zoned residential. So it's I think expected that when we want to have a variety of uses in this neighborhood, including uses for assembly and weddings, to occur in neighborhoods like Ohio City, we need to review cases like this, and we'll get requests like this. And so given that the work that the applicant has done in this particular case to accommodate both the requirements of the code, their practical business purposes, and I think concerns of the neighborhood into making sure that they can operate safely, successfully in this building, I think are commendable, and I would support the variances as requested.
Thank you. Do we have a picture of the building, Maurice?
I do not have it on. I did not make this presentation, so I do not have it on here. Ms. Kukla, can you tell me when it was first heard, and I can bring up those pictures?
Sure, it was July 20th.
Okay, just give me 1 second. I'll have that up for you.
Okay, all right, there was somebody else on the list to testify.
Ashley Shaw, I can speak if there's nobody else ready to speak. So Ashley Shaw, Director of Neighborhood Planning and Economic Development for Ohio City Incorporated. We had a meeting with some of the neighbors on August 11th. 13 residents showed up to meet with the business owner and property owner to learn about the concept and ask questions. There was 3 sort of overarching concerns that were discussed that night: parking, noise, and alcohol. I would say of the 13 residents that attended, almost all of them live on that block. And the few that don't live further down on West 47th. As it relates to parking, as Christina mentioned, 52 spaces are required. There's 20 on site, and they have at least the additional spaces required by the code from Urban Community School. The venue occupancy is 100 people, so no more than 100 people will be there. Most people, when they come to weddings, either ride share or take hotel shuttles. They come in pairs. So we don't think that there will ever be 100 people driving 100 of their own vehicles to this space. But they have said that they would talk to Urban Community School, who has a couple hundred parking spaces across the street, to lease more parking spaces if they did see that they needed more parking than what they're currently providing. As it relates to the noise, the venue requires that all events end at 11 p.m. So everybody will be off site by 11:30. Everything will happen indoors. There won't be any programming in the parking lot where the noise would carry to the neighbors. And I would say one large point of discussion, I think that was really that went over really well with the neighbors, is we asked if they provided valet service for their events, so that the valet could ensure that the people were parking in the designated parking spots rather than on the residential street in front of people's homes, so that when people are leaving, you're not hearing them walking down the street talking at night. And the residents felt that that would be a way to help deter some of the noise in front of their houses, and they seem to like that idea. And then with alcohol, the bar will be run by a professional bartending company. There will be police on site, and so the alcohol use should be controlled. And so people felt confident with that. And I would say overall, most of the residents felt pretty comfortable with this concept after having asked their questions to the business owner. As it relates to Ohio City Incorporated, we've been doing a lot of work to try and bring in a diversity of businesses along our retail corridors. We did a retail plan in 2019 that called for, creating more community spaces and gathering spaces in the neighborhood and bringing in businesses outside of more bars and restaurants. And so we feel like this concept, it provides studio space for artists when there's not events. it can be, there can be other types of community gatherings outside of weddings. And so we like that it is in line with the retail plan that the residents participated in creating, and we're excited about the concept.
Thank you. Okay, more.
Madam Chair, we have Mr. Pettit with his hand raised.
Mr. Pettit,
Thank you, Madam Chair. The landmark, the building is located in the Lorraine Avenue Historic District. We have no objection to the current use. I have reviewed the site improvements with the building department. We support the site improvements. I would just remind the applicants that any proposed changes to the exterior of the building will require review by the Landmarks Commission, but we support the variances as requested.
Thank you. Okay. Can we go back to the plan? Thank you. So there will be landscaping in front of the parking. Mike Nolan, did you draw this?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, I drew that up.
Okay, so it's very small on my screen, and what is the landscaping strip? How wide is it?
There's currently concrete. The parking lot meets right up to the sidewalk. There really is no way to put any kind of landscaping there along the fence. There's a grass lot in the back separating us from the homes, but as far as on the West 47th side, it's just existing concrete.
How about concrete planters with something in them? Something to soften the look. If I'm going to a wedding reception or a thing, gee, that would be nice, right, instead of walking into a concrete parking lot.
I can do whatever is necessary.
Well, then I would really like you to dig up the concrete.
Well, I don't own the building. That's the problem. And the landlord is not.
I know. That was a joke.
Yeah. Okay. But I am a metal artist, and I can come up with something cool, different, whatever. If it needs approval, we'll work with whoever we need to work with to come up with something to soften it there along the parking lot.
Well, Matt Moss is the representative from the city planning department, and okay, I would suggest you reach out to him, and maybe between the two brains, we can come up with something that would soften that look there.
Okay.
Because we can't make any adjustments to the building, so let's make the adjustments to the parking area.
Okay.
Okay. That's my thing. Now, who else?
Well, I'll work with Matt, and then I'll also have to work with the owner of the building.
Yes.
So whatever I can do to make it more appealing, I'll do.
Well, good for you. God love you. Okay, who else was here to chat, Maurice?
I have no one else with their hand raised. Is there anybody else that wanted to testify at this point? We have Jill Petz.
Hi, all. This is Jill Petz. I live directly across the street. I had some concerns in the beginning just because I did not know about it. Mike Nolan came over and talked to me and several of the other residents. I am in full support of this project. I think, especially now during COVID, we need projects, we need businesses like this to keep this environment safe and healthy. So I've talked to several neighbors, and I believe that they have community support.
Well, good. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you sounding in. Anybody else, Maurice?
I have no one else at this time, Madam Chair.
Any questions?
I take that back. I have John Haggerty.
Oh, you lied to me.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to figure out how to raise my hand there. I apologize. John Haggerty from Urban Community School. I just wanted to voice support for this. We're very supportive of the project. As was said, we are in principal agreement on addressing the parking issue and helping out with that. But we believe that having more people here, especially on weekends, just creating a better presence in the community should help with things like safety and building a more vibrant community. So.
Well, are you willing to give them a 5-year lease on those spots that
Yes.
they need on Saturday and Sunday?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you very much for chiming in. Maurice, anybody else?
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Madam Chair, that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions, board?
No,
Madam
Madam
Chair,
Chair,
this is-
I can move with the motion.
Okay, go right ahead.
Given the testimony and support from the surrounding neighbors as well as Ohio City Inc. and city planning, I move as well as landmarks. I move that we approve the variances as requested for calendar number 20-045, noting that the appellant as well as Urban Community School have testified that they will provide a 5-year lease for overflow parking, and also that section 343.23E we cannot give.
Second.
Call the roll.
Madam Chair, are we holding this pending the 5-year lease?
Yes.
All right, I'll call the roll. Ms. Barnes?
Ms. Barnes, yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yep.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-45 is granted. Pending that lease agreement, we'll ratify that when that is received and send you a letter.
Thank you all. Now we'll go to Gulfview Drive. Ms. Faith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 20-101 at 18611 Gulfview Drive. Visionary Realty, LLC owner proposes to erect 225 linear feet of 6-foot-high picket fence in the side yard and rear yard in an A1 one-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda in the public record.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Tim.
Will everyone for this project that was going to give testimony kindly raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, Andrew Hahn. I do, Adam Davenport.
Okay, that appears to be everyone.
Okay, history of the property, please. Oh, you already had that. Well, let's do the legal standard we'll be judging the case on.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the fence requirements of the zoning code. The same area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land and buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Who is the owner of Visionary Realty?
I am.
And you are?
Andrew Hahn.
I'm sorry, I could not understand.
Andrew Hahn.
Oh, Andrew, you were playing the violin a minute ago. Yes, okay.
I was just practicing.
Oh, good. Okay.
Well, California burned, I might add.
The reason we postponed the case so you had time to meet with the planning commission. Have you done that?
Yes, I was in correspondence with Adam, and he suggested that I go 4 feet in from the sidewalk property line. So I revised the drawing and I provided this drawing to Liz as well. If you can present that, that would be great. And from the email, not the slides from my previous hearing.
There was a councilman's letter a minute ago, but
Appellant, can you get closer to the mic, or because you're like an echo, so we can't really hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a little better.
A little better. Okay. I'll try to project.
Okay, there was I'm sorry, there was a letter from the councilman. Can you get that back on the screen, Maurice?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay.
Is Liz Kukla on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
In the email that I sent you, I sent the revised drawing. Can you project that?
I believe I sent them to Maurice.
Okay, so
They
Maurice
should be in the,
has the updated drawing of the fence. I took the suggestion from Adam to go 4 feet in from the sidewalk. And I revised the drawing. So if you can project that drawing, that's the most up to date.
Adam? Let's hear from Adam Davenport.
Just real quick, I do not have the updated drawings. I did not create this presentation. I was on vacation last week, so I don't know why they're not included in this presentation.
Okay.
Also has a copy of the drawing if you can present.
I don't know.
I will forward it again. I'll forward it again to Maurice. I believe I sent it to his.
Is this one of the updated ones?
Yes. So this is the updated drawing, 4 feet in from the sidewalk. And I think that would also work. It would create a nice symmetry in the front, 10 feet on each side. And now the remaining concern would be the driveway, right? So there is a strip of lawn that is triangular that makes the driveway exit at an angle. So I don't know if a corner cut is still necessary, but from the previous cases that we've heard today, it seems like one of the ways to mitigate this risk is by putting a mirror, which I think is a good idea. I can do that if the board still feels there is safety risk. But the driveway does exit at an angle. There's a strip of triangular lawn in the gray shaded color on the drawing.
Adam, let's hear from you.
Morning. Well, briefly, I guess, it's about 11:45. So I guess my opinion on this case, which I communicated to the applicant, it hasn't changed too much. I just saw the revised drawings late last week. That so I kind of outlined two options because the issue at hand is the applicant wants to install a 6-foot fence around the rear of the property. So the code states that those fences can only be 4 feet in height unless they are 4 feet off the property line. That's for numerous reasons. I think we get enough fence cases here. We know what those reasons are. So if per our code, if the fence is to be 6 feet in height, it needs to be 4 feet off the property line. I don't know if Rick is on the call or he can lend his opinion to 6 feet in the front yard, which would be technically those 10-foot areas that are specified under this new plan. I don't remember the exact dimension where it needs to be, where the fence needs to be off the driveway for some view shed requirements near the sidewalk. So I mean, regardless, this new updated plan needs to be resubmitted to Building and Housing so they can look at the plan again, because I think there are specific dimensional requirements that kind of need Rick's eye again. But the plan on the sidewalk area can move forward with the 6-foot height limit if it's far enough away from the sidewalk. So I guess in summary, sorry to kind of elaborate on that too long. In summary, I mean, I think planning's opinion with a lot of these fence cases is that if the fence is, close to the sidewalk, it should be short in height, and it should be, there should be a reasonable amount of opacity so you can see what's going on as well as the neighbors can see what's going on too. I mean, corner lots, there's a lot of fences being proposed lately, but that's mainly our stance overall. If the applicant wants to move it off the sidewalk, then I think it's a different matter and needs to be re-adjudicated.
You have a communication from Mr. Riccardi? was on my screen and then it was gone.
Mr. Riccardi
Yeah.
states that variance number 2 would still be required. Fence running parallel to a driveway for 15 feet to sidewalk must be 75% open.
So he's got 7 foot there.
Item number 1 can be eliminated.
And
So I think
of the
what,
of the 15 feet required, he's got 7 feet. I'm looking at the driveway. But if the fence goes on that diagonal, he'd have half of it covered.
I think we need to know
Looks
the
up
dimension
here.
of this gray area.
That gray area is roughly around 3 feet from going up and down, north and south, at the sidewalk. It's also difficult to view from satellite view as well. If that makes it easier.
I think if I'm reading this correctly, this is Adam again. I think if I'm reading this correctly, also though, Rick is stating that the fence must be 75% open, and the applicant's proposing a board-on-board fence.
7 foot doesn't have any fence on it.
Yeah.
So it's 100% open.
Currently, the chain link was removed. Yes. The posts are still there.
So the question is,
As you can see, sort of the post that you see on the first line, you can see there's a large stretch of diagonal grass, like a triangular piece that I shaded in gray.
Yes. Okay.
So now it forces the driveway. You have to exit on a diagonal. You can't exit straight up.
that dark gray is grass?
That dark gray is grass in my drawing.
Wow. Well, if that's the case, maybe you could back it up and put a slot or two open.
As you can see, that triangular piece that I shaded in gray is the line.
Oh. So he's ever.
Yeah, so it's a unique situation where it forces you to exit the driveway at an angle so that you don't get to hit pedestrians when you actually exit.
Okay.
It does put him further.
From a safety standpoint, I believe it's a non-issue. Also, I drive a Tesla, so it detects people anyways. So it detects if there's any people in my So yeah, I think it's from a safety standpoint, it's a non-issue. From a code, which is why I'm requesting a variance, because the code doesn't apply to my specific situation.
So he's almost got it all covered just by the way the driveway is shaped.
Correct. They thought of that when they built the house.
Yeah, I think that gives it another dimension. That
yeah.
Again, off of the sidewalk, there's 4 foot, and then if the fence is going to go on that diagonal, another 3 foot, so that's 7 foot.
Yeah.
Toward the 15. Then you got this grass area.
Yeah.
I think he's doing it.
Yeah, I do too.
What do you think, Adam? See what I'm saying there?
Yeah, I think I think as soon as you move it away from the sidewalk to a good degree, then I think that's kind of what the code is getting at, right? Like the first proposal 2 or 3 weeks ago from the applicant had the fence right along the sidewalk, and our stance is you don't want to walk next to a 6 foot fence near the sidewalk. So as long as it's away from the fence, I think that the driveway situation is a little bit more tricky. So I'm fine with that nuance either way. I think the main point I'm getting at is near the sidewalk.
I agree with you.
I'm with you too.
Awesome.
Madam Chair, given the testimony in the revised drawing and the appellant's goodwill to try to meet the standard as much as possible, I would move that we would approve the variance based on that plan.
I'll second.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-101 is granted based on the revised plans. They'll be ratified next week, and we'll send you a letter.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Can we call Kenilworth now?
The last one, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes. Yes, and I'm going to really press for as much brevity as possible here right now.
By the way, I might have to leave at 12 noon here.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, guys. Ms. Faith? Unmute yourself. Calendar 20-135.
Calendar 20-135 at 1415 Kenilworth Avenue. 1415 Kenilworth LLC proposes to construct a 5-story apartment building in a D2 multifamily residential district and an urban form overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Mr. Donovan, swear everybody in.
Okay, with everyone for this case, kindly raise your right hand. I'm going to read a statement at the end. I'm looking for a response. I'm looking for somebody to shut their phone off there. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, David Mason.
Thank you.
I do, Dennis McNulty.
I do,
Brent Zimmerman.
I do, Susan Shalaba.
Anyone else?
I do, Corey Reardon.
Khalid?
I do, Matt Moss, City Planning.
I do, Corey Reardon, Tremont.
Anyone else?
I do, Don Pettit.
We have Carla also. You're muted, ma'am.
Okay. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was originally zoned multifamily apartment house in 1929. In 2017, was changed to local retail and placed in the urban form overlay district. I didn't find any records on this property. The Sanborn map from 1950 shows that it was a parking lot at that time. There are no variances on file, and the only thing I found in the Acela system is that on August 14th, there was a lot split and consolidation here at this site. That's all I have.
Thank you. Yielding to a lot apartment, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting an area variance from the off-street parking requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Who's going to be the spokesperson?
David Mason, I'll begin.
Okay.
So this is a good place to start. Maybe back one slide, just to get everybody located. The green space in the middle of the slide is Lincoln Park. To the north of Lincoln Park is Kenilworth Avenue. The west side of the park is West 14th Street, and we are northwest at the corner of Kenilworth and West 14th. There's a parking lot there. You can see it's very small though. So maybe we go to the next slide, if we could. So this is then looking south down West 14th. So you can see the green area. That's the location of our site. The right-hand side is the Byzantine Catholic Church, and above the green space, you can see the residential building there is the rectory that was used by the church. Both of these structures have been unoccupied for several years now. I'm going to be as brief as I can, but I think it's important to give a little bit of history of how and why we got to where we are today. We started looking at this in 2019. Part of our due diligence was to examine the usefulness of the existing residential building. We thought it was in pretty tough shape on the outside. The inside, the rectory conversion was not gentle to the residents. So we brought through several general contractors who specialize in the residential renovation of homes like this. What we found consistently was that the cost to renovate the home exceeded market value when finished. So we made the decision then in early 2019 to begin a proposal that brought down the home and utilized that 7,500 square foot of lot area and add that to the parking lots. Parking lot's about 9,800 square feet. So we ended up with a lot area of just over 17,000 square feet. We went on then to develop a project that fit within the guidelines and standards of the urban form overlay. We met the height restrictions, we met parking requirements, and so we started the process with the community. We then met with Kenilworth and West 14th Block Club. They were in favor of the project. We learned that the Tremont Local Historic District was likely not going to support any removal of that residence, and when we got onto Landmarks Commission, we learned that Landmarks felt the same way. They could not support the removal of the home. So development team was faced with either fighting to get the house taken down, or what we did was we scheduled a meeting, and city planning staff was gracious enough to entertain us. We sat down with staff and started brainstorming on how do we come up with a compromise that allows us to save this residence. It was important to many members of the community. It just made for a very difficult project because it limited us to 9,000 square foot or 9,800 square foot, just the area of what is the parking lot that's shown there today. Church was never in question. The church was always intended to be repurposed by the development team. In our meeting with city staff, we quickly realized that the urban form overlay requirement, or one of the principal requirements of the urban form overlay, is street level activation. They want, the objective is to get living space activation on the street level. It makes for better community. Parking and building couldn't occupy the same space, and what we arrived with was something that was a little more progressive. One of the members of the development team is a strong advocate of limiting vehicle use. Opinion isn't that they do a whole lot for the cities. So what we threw out to staff was, what if we could come up with something that was, that met all of the other requirements? It's under the height, conforms with the urban form overlay. We've got the street level activation. What if we do a project that's really, really friendly to folks who would use a bicycle? We've got public transportation just down the street, and we know that a lot of folks are using ride sharing today instead of owning a personal vehicle. So we thought, could you support a project if we went at it from that angle? We size the units appropriately. We provide ample bicycle storage on every level, and the answer was yes. So that's how we started to get here. This was an effort to save that existing residence and still end up with a project that could conform with the requirements. Brent, I don't know if you want to say a word or two quickly about any of this.
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody's time. Yeah, so given the set of challenges that David laid out.
You just need to state your name again.
Oh, sorry. This is Brent Zimmerman with the development team.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Given this set of challenges that David laid out, we worked with city planning and Don and his group to put together what we thought is a fantastic building for this corner. With bike storage on each level, elevator that goes to each of those levels. bus route that goes right in front of the building, and now all the money that the city and state has spent to connect biking routes all the way down through the entire state. Basically, we're trying to create an affordable place to live. So if you look up I'll use AAA as an example because everybody knows what AAA is. The average cost of car ownership a year is almost $8,500. In addition, we're paying 100% of the utilities at this building, which is another average of $102 a month per different statistics you can look up on Ohio websites. And so, all in all, if you don't have a car and if you aren't paying utilities, you're saving almost $805 a month. The units are sized as such that all of the rents are between $1,100 and $1,700. And if you take the net benefit of those two things that I mentioned, car, gas, insurance, utilities, et cetera, that are no longer a burden, you're creating a very affordable place to live in the city of Cleveland when all we're building around the entire city are larger, more unaffordable units, and largely because of the cost of building parking. It's $30,000 a spot to build parking. And so what we're trying to do is build a building for the future. By 2030, by many respected think tanks around the country, 95% of car traffic will be autonomous. Car ownership is going to dwindle from 230 some million miles a year down to 44 million miles a year, just due to centralized autonomous cars picking people up and dropping people off. In addition, COVID has drastically pulled forward the whole notion that you don't have to go into an office to work anymore. Many people will never go to an office again. We're not going back to how it used to be. Large businesses across the world are planning for that as we speak. We see large companies every day announce that they're not going back to their office ever. And that's in every state in the United States, not just California. Right now, FedEx, UPS, Tesla, the U.S. Postal Service, you name it, every single one of them have autonomous driving vehicles on our roads as we speak. There are billions and billions of miles being driven every year by autonomous vehicles that are going to provide for the fact that you do not need a car. And so for 46 units on the corner of a park where you can take your bike all the way to your floor and you can get on a bus, it isn't necessary any longer. In addition to that, to suffice everybody, we have parking spaces off-site as well with partners, just so that we check that box as well. But I'll stop there and just say I'm very adamant about thinking about the future, not the past. Remember, we used to ride horses. We don't anymore.
Okay, thank you very much. But so, Corey Reardon, let's hear from you. Mute.
Okay, so, and I'm going to try to be brief. The idea of the parking and all of that and car ownership 20 years from now and all that are not really on the agenda. What's on the agenda is a elimination of parking after Planning Commission and the council person rezone this corner to reduce parking with an urban overlay. And that urban overlay was just done 3 years ago. So completely ignoring what zoning was put in place just 3 years ago and eliminating all parking is, I don't think is appropriate at this site. And additionally, you have a letter from the Block Club chair, a letter from Tremont West, and a letter from the councilman all opposing this. So I will leave it at that for now.
Thank you. Who else was here to speak?
I'd like to just interject. It's not 20 years from now. It's less than 5. It's always conjecture.
David Pennant. Hold on for Donald Pennant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This project was approved by the Landmarks Commission on July 9th. We approved it with 3 conditions: that they lower the rear portion of the building along Kenilworth to 4 stories, that they create a drop-off zone on either Kenilworth or West 14th Street, and approval of the parking variance by the Board of Zoning Appeals. We've seen this project 3 times this year. We also saw the previous iteration that involved the demolition of the rectory. I think it's a better project now. I think it's more contextual. I think it respects the historic buildings around it better. They have reduced the back part of the building to 4 stories. They have an approved drop-off zone. I don't know that we'll ever come to a consensus about the parking, but the commission supports the project, and we think it's appropriate to the historic district.
Thank you very much, Ronald. Corey, you had something else you wanted to add?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
Madam Chair, we have Matthew Moss and Susan, and I don't want to mispronounce your last name, also with her hands raised.
Okay, let's do Susan and then Matthew. Susan?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So my name is Susan Shalaba. I'm a resident of West 14th Street. I've been following this process and actively involved in the damage that this building is going to do to our neighborhood with overcrowded parking. I have so many points I'd like to make, but there are a couple that are most important that I think you need to hear. Already, first of all, I haven't heard them say that they have signed leases like expected from the wedding venue that I just heard, that having signed leases was a part of their requirement.
We have signed leases.
Are nowhere within 400 feet of this building. People will absolutely opt to park on West 14th Street and around the park, and we will absolutely have a situation where you have overcrowded parking in our streets. I live on West 14th Street. I'm backing out onto West 14th Street, which is a very busy piece of road, is difficult already. It's going to be all the more difficult when I have cars blocking my view on neighbor's view and trying to maintain safety. And whether or not there's a designated drop-off zone, you're talking about the volume of 46 units with Ubers and Amazon deliveries. There's a dedicated bike lane in front of that building. If there are cars stopped in front of that building all the time, you're going to push the bike riders out into the oncoming traffic. It's a busy intersection. There are the neighborhood is firmly opposed to this and has been, and they did not come back to the Block Club ever or go through the neighborhood process to work with us to come up with a plan that is safe for the neighborhood. They are going to cause harm. And then I also want to address the fact that there is a historical building just 3 doors away, St. Augustine Church, which serves the community of Cleveland as a nonprofit, which holds up, it feeds the poor, it feeds the homeless, and we do not have an option of building a big parking lot to accommodate our residents. Traditionally and historically had safe on-site parking for our seniors, for our people with disabilities, for our families, and for the function of the St. Augustine Hunger Center, which I'm sure you've all heard of. And I am an active member of this parishioner. I have been for 20 years. I have a learning center there that I help adults study for their GED. And for an example, on any given Monday night, we have my learning center, we have Block Club meetings, parish council meetings. We absolutely have no other options but to have West 14th remain for the Tremont market, remain a viable source. And these developers, this historic reference of not needing parking is just beyond to me, is beyond my I just can't even understand it. We are a historic building. We have no, you are transferring the hardship and the difficulty if you approve this building in its present form over to the neighborhood and to St. Augustine Church and to all of the neighborhood, because we already deal with a very busy street. We deal with road traffic. We deal with all that's happening on West 14th Street, and we absolutely will be overwhelmed by 46. And one more point, them going on, I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk this way, but I'm not good at this. Talking about public transportation, the bus runs once an hour and you have to go down to the opposite corner to get it. It does not stop near this building. It's not a frequent bus route. People have to walk places to go get the bus. It's not like some accomplished.
Thank you, Susan. You've made your point very strong, and we appreciate it.
I thank you for your time, Madam Chairperson.
Madam Chair, we also have a Carla. Again, I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name.
Carla Eschmeyer.
I am here. Thank you. That was pronounced correctly, Madam Chair. I appreciate the time. So thank you again, Madam Chair, members of the board. I would just briefly, my comments, share the concerns that Tremont West has, that the Auburn Lincoln Block Club has, as well as other concerned members of the community and our council person. I am a resident of Tremont. I participate in our block club. I'm currently secretary of the Auburn Lincoln Block Club. To be brief, I know there are a lot of comments and concerned folks, and I want to give them some time, but I would say my three concerns are that number one, the parking plan. We've never required or said to these developers that they must have parking on site, but what we have strenuously said to them is that they need to develop a parking plan that addresses the concerns of the community. And despite the fact that they have come to our block club, they have not come back to us with the parking plan, nor do I believe that they've come to Tremont West to review the parking plan. That's number one. Number two, there has not been a full and complete description with respect to how the Holy Ghost Church will be repurposed. The church is the adjacent building. You can see it in this rendering here, that the proposed development would be on the parking lot of the Holy Ghost Church. So it's hard for folks in the community to understand ultimately what the developers plan for that beautiful structure, how they are going to repurpose it without taking into account any parking needs that such repurpose may require. My third comment is I wouldn't call it a lack of coordination with the block club, but I would say concerns around the not understanding and not appreciating the process of the block club. I mean, we are active residents of our community. I think the process works well when there is this active participation in the community supported by our friends there at Tremont West. And when you have developers come with a project that is very multifaceted and probably, a little bit, I would say, a first of its kind for us to, as a community group, kind of consume what is going to be happening with that whole site. It's challenging, but what is also challenging is that the developers, when they are asked to come back and review changes to their proposal, don't come back to us and then say they don't need to because we are advisory, which is true. However, it does show a lack of good faith and partnership on the part of developers with the community. The third thing I would say is to address the needs of the parking. I know I'm coming back to this, but just a comment that I believe Brent Zimmerman made with respect to what is happening now. I think we fully support actively the use of alternative means of transportation of our community. But as noted by Susan, the RTA is 1.2 miles away. The bus going downtown comes once an hour to that location. And even those folks in our community who bike to work also have cars. So there does need to be a solution for addressing the needs of the parking for 49 units. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Carla. Okay,
Madam Chair, we have a few more. So we have Liz Kukla wanted to make a quick statement. We have Dennis and we have David. And of course, Matthew Moss, which he'll probably follow up.
Liz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have received approximately 13 letters of opposition from residents in the area, and they cite concerns also about congestion and traffic issues. Just wanted to state that for the record.
Thank you very much. All right, let's go quickly, unless you have something different to add, to give on this project. Hello, one of the women?
We have Dennis and David.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dennis, let's do Dennis, then we'll do David. Quickly.
Yes, I'll be quick. I'm Dennis McNulty. I'm a parishioner of St. Augustine Church, but I'm also the retired Director of Catholic Charities Disability Services. Susan voiced the issues with St. Augustine's very well, but I wanted to point out that granting a variance to this project may tempt tenants to park illegally at a facility right across the street that has parking, OLA St. Joseph Center, hindering their services to people with disabilities. It's operated by Rosemary, but it's also, besides day services, the site of evening and weekend programs for persons with developmental disabilities. These programs will be impacted if parking is limited in any way. It's a small lot. And personally, if I was living there and had a car, that parking lot is right across the street. That's all I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Now, David.
Thank you. Quickly, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. We did in fact meet with the block club. It was a voting meeting. We didn't have our letter of nonconformance then, but we did present the project and listen to their concerns. I wanted to note that the drop-off zone that we have worked out with the city is located along the Kenilworth side of the building, so there won't be any interference to bicycle paths along West 14th. We have a couple of spaces that can be dedicated to visitor parking. We, if that's needed, and we will have what is in excess of 2 spaces, maybe 2.5 spaces that can be dedicated for drop-off. We'll figure out how that gets programmed down the road, but there's ample space for drop-off along the Kenilworth side. And then I also wanted to know, we met with, it was suggested that we didn't meet with the Tremont Local Historic District. That's not the case. We had a Zoom call with the Historic District. But by the time we got the landmarks, I think we had 14 spaces, LOIs for 14 spaces along Kenilworth, which is the south edge of the park. We had another 24 spaces, LOIs, for 24 spaces on Auburn Avenue, which is a couple blocks away. And then in addition to that, we've garnered another 15 spaces along West 11th directly across the parks. We have LOIs for 53 parking spaces. Now, nobody agrees with the premise of this, that we're going to fill this with people that don't utilize a personal vehicle. We fully intend to do that, and we believe that will be the case. If it isn't, we have 53 spaces earmarked. Additionally, we've talked with Grace Hospital. They can't commit to anything right now because they don't know where their land's going to be or what the land use will be 18 months from now. But that's still an opportunity. If they don't use their land for development, they have some spaces that they're willing to speak with us about down the road. And we've also talked to the Ukraine Museum, who was willing to take to that to their board for a vote, and that's an opportunity as well. So to speak to what to our needs, there's plenty of underutilized parking in the neighborhood today. If somebody searches it out, and we've committed to doing that for the existing Byzantine Church, should we find an appropriate tenant. The search has been on for months now, and there haven't been any takers. But again, it will go down a similar kind of path. There is currently underutilized parking in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Matt, we got to sum this up, babe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Matt Moss. I'm the neighborhood planner with the Cleveland Planning Commission. So as the development team mentioned at the beginning of their presentation, when it became clear that the Landmarks Commission would not support the demolition of the home on the property after a walkthrough with Planning Commission staff, Landmarks Commission staff, Landmarks Commission members, and local Historic Committee members, we sat down with the development team, Don Pettit, Councilman McCormick, and discussed what the options were, understanding that this project would need some type of zoning variance, whether it's from the requirement to have active use space on the ground floor or to have off-street parking, because the developer made it very clear that the expense of doing underground or structured parking would not be supported with this type of project. And so we advised the developer to pursue a design that met the ground floor living requirements of the code and then would require an off-street parking variance, because in this neighborhood, we felt that it was more important to have living space and activity on the ground floor in what is widely considered one of the most walkable neighborhoods in the city and directly across from Lincoln Park than to have ground floor car storage off street on this property. And so what I did in terms of addressing that issue and understanding that when considering this variance, the board is asked to understand whether granting the variance would contribute or severely would create a severely adverse condition in terms of traffic congestion. I spoke to our traffic commissioner, Rob Mavick, about this intersection, particularly West 14th and Kenilworth, as well as the on-street parking on Kenilworth, particularly west of the park, because it's pretty heavily parked around Lincoln Park. But the road, Kenilworth going under the highway, there's very little parking utilization there, and parking utilization north of Kenilworth on West 14th is also very underutilized because there isn't a lot of land use on those two stretches of road. So understanding the current parking utilization, the ability to stripe additional spaces per the traffic commissioner that I spoke to, and the general land use of this site, it seemed appropriate to support, from our perspective, the variance, understanding that it would this project would take a surface parking lot and replace it with housing for people, a project that also has bike parking internal to the property. And in context of the other projects that are going on in Tremont, which include a 69-unit apartment building over on Scranton with 100 off-street spaces, another project on Scranton with 129 off-street parking spaces, and a parking lot near a project near the towpath that's 130 units with 145 off-street parking spaces. So our goal really at the Planning Commission, looking long-term at the development and growth of these neighborhoods as investment comes in, is to understand how we can meet a variety of living styles, a variety of lifestyles needs in these neighborhoods. And we look at things like how trends are changing in terms of transportation, how investment is shifting, particularly when it comes to RTA. There used to be several bus lines in Tremont. Now there's just one, the 81. The 81 bus service used to be 30 minutes. It's now 40 minutes. And understanding that in order to support transportation modes that are vulnerable and more viable for lower income residents, especially residents who don't own a car, turning surface parking lots such as this into housing for people is a better long-term use and a better way to support those crucial services for the city of Cleveland. It provides further buttressing to the income tax base for the city of Cleveland and generally improves walkability in the neighborhood by bringing uses closer together. The reason why driving is such a prominent mode of transportation in our city and cities like Cleveland is because things are just so far apart. And this project does one thing to bring those uses closer together. And so given all of the trade-offs, given the fact that we have to look at these variance cases in the context of the zoning code, in the context of the neighborhood, in the context of the city, as a case-by-case basis, I would say I think this variance in this project brings more benefit to the city than harm, and would say I support the variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can I speak real quick?
Just a question to Matt. Can you verify that the distance from the area is 1.2 miles as we heard testimony stating that it was?
I'm sorry, Alana, can you repeat that?
To verify if the distance to the RTA stop is actually 1.2 miles as the testimony we heard said it is? Can we improve that situation?
Madam, understanding that the closest bus stop to this project is walking distance. Is the bus stop 81 stops at Starkweather and West 14th, which is a block away. It's a block down. It's at the other end of the park, so I can figure out what that distance is. But
is that southbound or northbound, ma'am?
That stop. The bus, I believe the bus stops at both directions there. There's an additional stop at West 11th and Fairfield, which is both stops are less than a mile from each other.
Okay.
The West 14th and Starkweather stop is 1/10 of a mile from this project location, and the West 11th and Fairfield stop is 0.3 miles from this project location.
0.3?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam
And am I correct that the distance that RTA calculates, that most mass transit calculates, is 0.7 of a mile for accessibility from anyone to be able to walk to stop?
The standard we generally use for assessing transit-oriented development is a 10-minute walk from a bus stop, and that's generally for high-frequency transit service that's roughly 15 minutes or more frequent. The 81 does not arrive that quickly, unfortunately, anymore, so it wouldn't be considered a high-frequency line, but it is the only bus line that serves Tremont.
Right. And to the appellants, is this residential building project going to be marketed to Metro Health workers, or what's the plan on that?
Oh, the one point, Alana, the 1.2 is to the West 25th Street rail line. Carla just put it on the screen.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, we have multiple people still with their hands raised. I don't know if you wanted to get to everyone or.
You know what? Unless they're in favor of it, I would like to know who's in favor. I would like to hear with their name. If they're against it, I want to hear with their name. It is long past due on this case.
Okay, we have Kate O'Neill. I don't believe she's spoken yet.
Kate O'Neill, are you for or against the project? Kate O'Neill.
And we also have Khalid from Tremont West.
Khalid, are you for or against it?
Against.
Thank you.
We have Ben Cooper.
Ben Cooper, for or against?
I'm against.
Thank you.
I believe Kate O'Neill is against it. She's typed several things in the chat.
Oh, chat, okay. All right. Have we lost 2 board members? Liz?
I still see Kelly.
Okay, good. Well, then I will entertain a motion.
We have Marlene. Lana, yes.
And Mr. Donovan is here as well.
Okay, good. I'll entertain a motion. Anybody want to make a motion? I can't make a motion, so. Kelly, Tim, Merlene, Alana.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I'm here now. We've had a case like this before in Little Italy, where there was still some parking on site, but the rest of the parking was off site, and we granted that variance. And listening to the presentation from Matt as far as trying to bring different types of development to the neighborhood to where it is people oriented. I kind of get that. I do understand that due to the popularity of Tremont that, there is some, parking issues in some nodes of the neighborhood. And so that people are afraid that if we add, more units to the area, that would, cause more parking issue. We have heard a rebuttal to that there is some parking off-site on other parts of Kenilworth. But I do feel like we need to have proof that these spaces do exist. So we need to have whatever these agreements are. And our standard is, 5 years minimum to have these parking leases. So to say that, I will say that I will move to approve these variances with the backup that they do have these leases available for these other parking spaces. That will be a condition of this approval. So I will leave it at that.
Madam Chair, do you want to take any additional comments at this point? We have lots of people with their hands raised.
Board, can you still stay? I'm here, but I don't know about the others. They have jobs.
No, yeah, I have to go. Like
Barnes definitely have to go.
That we need to move it forward. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I second it, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry. Then call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Hello?
Ms. Barnes?
Barnes is no.
Thank you. Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan? Mr. Donovan? Mr. Donovan?
He's not at his camera's on, but he's not sitting there, so I don't know what happened.
Okay, Ms. Britt?
Looks like there's some moving going on.
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson voted no.
And Ms. Britt?
I voted yes.
So we have a tied vote, unless Mr. Donovan is going to weigh in.
Can
So
somebody
this
text
means
Mr.
that-
Donovan? Can you text Mr. Donovan, Liz? To get his attention?
Allow me to grab his email or his phone. Hold on one moment.
I don't think we've ever had this before.
No.
We have received a lot of letters, so maybe some of those folks that have not had a chance to talk have already sent a letter. We have them for the permanent record.
Correct.
Yes. But I really do have to go though, so I don't know, if it doesn't pass, then you guys are gonna have to come back with another motion, but I do have to go to work.
Ms. Barnes, second, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks.
I did just email him. I haven't heard anything back from him yet. So we could postpone this at this point. Perhaps the appellant would like to request a postponement until we have 5 members. We'll be sure to take this item first at the next hearing if he wants to postpone it. Unfortunately, the soonest I could get it on would be October 5th.
Second.
I'm sorry, did somebody make a comment?
Hello, we need a response from the appellant.
Yeah, Mr. Donovan, can you hear us? Liz, were you able to call him?
No.
Do you have his
I
phone
wasn't
number?
able to get on. I don't have it with me. So, Madam Chair, would the board like to postpone this then? Would any board member like to move to postpone this to October 5th?
Well, I thought you were going to ask.
I move to postpone this to October 5th.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Do we hear any objections from the board members?
No objection.
No objection.
This case is postponed to October 5th. I apologize for the lengthy agenda. We will put this on the first item on the agenda on October 5th. We'll send out another notice and link to that meeting.
Thank you.
Let's go to old business.
You should have received the resolutions for these over the weekend. Sunday, I sent these.
Looks like Ms. Johnson stepped away.
We just have two.
Did we
Sorry, go
receive
ahead.
everything that we needed to receive?
1 through 7
Fulfill the
without
requirements
objection.
for any of these?
I'm sorry, I took a call. 1 through 7 without objection?
Without objection from Ms.
Without-
Barnes.
Without objection.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Okay, and yes for me. So there's only 3 of us, I believe.
Yes.
And an affirmation's needed on West 25th Street. Without objection? Without objection.
Without objection.
Okay, thank you. We have any other things? No?
Nope,
I
that's
believe
it.
we do, Madam Chair.
Oh,
There's Mr. Johnson.
there's Tim.
There's Mr. Donovan.
He can't hear us, he's muted.
He must have his speakers turned off. Mr. Donovan, are you there?
No, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, we have 3 more cases.
Bye.
Okay,
I
I guess.
apologize.
Are we done?
Liz?
This was, yeah,
Yes.
Madam Chair, are we adjourned?
Yes, we are
we're still
adjourned.
recording.
But Liz, I want to talk to you.
Hold on, I'm
Go
going
to
to.
public then?